Hey everyone, today I wanted to complete the 427 assignment. This is the quiz that I assigned for today. Now this is stuff that we kind of learned in class, but there are some harder questions so I wanted to go over it. Okay, so the first question, and we might have the same questions, maybe not, I'm not exactly sure. But here I know this side right here, I know this angle. And so these should bring back memories of a time in which we had stuff like sine, cosine, tangent, SOHCAHTOA is the phrase we use to remember how these work. Okay, so I want to find this missing side. So you remember when we find a missing side, I need to know like an angle. I need to know one side that I can use to help it. So I need to see what I have here. What's given to me. So you need to remember, there's opposite, there's hypotenuse, there's adjacent. So all three of these, they use these sides: opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. Now, we usually start with the hypotenuse, um, because that's the easiest side to find out. It's always the longest. Okay, so what's the longest side here? Well, that'll be this one. This would be the hypotenuse right here. Now you see that nothing's here yet. I mean, there's nothing here that I can really use. There's no question mark, there's no number, there's nothing. So it looks like I'm not going to use that for this problem. Now I look at my angle. This is 65 degrees. Uh, Opposite and adjacent are in reference to this. So I need to look at this first and then figure out what opposite and adjacent are. 7 is next to 65. It's really close. It's next to it. When I say next to it, I mean that it would be adjacent. So 7 is adjacent to 65 because it's next to 65 degrees. Remember, I'm always looking for the angle I know. What's next to it? 7. This side is also next to it, but we know it's a hypotenuse already, so that's already done. Okay, last one, opposite. Opposite would be this side, because it's across from it. It's opposite 65 degrees. It's opposite from it. Okay, so now that I know all three sides, I can figure out which one of these I should use. So what I know is I want to find opposite and I know adjacent. So I want to find opposite, I know adjacent. Which one of those three has an O and an A? It'd be TOA, right? TOA has an opposite, TOA has an A adjacent, so I want to use tangent. Okay, so what I write is I'll write tangent. I'm using tangent here, T-A-N, tan. What's my angle? It's 65 degrees. So tangent of 65 degrees is equal to O and A. First O, then A, opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. What's opposite? I don't know. That's the question mark. Adjacent is 7. So tangent of 65 degrees is equal to the question mark over 7. Now that I have my equation, I can solve it pretty easily. What's happening to this question mark? It's being divided by 7. So to undo this division, to make this by itself, I need to do the opposite of a division. Opposite division is multiplication, so I'm going to times both sides by 7. Now I have 7 times tangent 65 is equal to the question mark. This is done with. So I set my equation. I can cancel these I cancel this by doing multiplication, and I have 7 times tangent of 65. So my question mark is equal to 7 times tangent of 65 degrees. My question mark is equal to 7 times tangent of 65 degrees. Okay, now it's asking for me to round my answer, so I need to plug this into the calculator. 7 times tangent of 65 degrees. That's equal to 15.011. My answer is 15.011, and it's correct. Question 2, kind of the same thing, but look at this. I don't know the same rule, but I do know the sides, 2 sides, okay? So same thing over here. What do I know? Which is the longest side? This is 4 is smaller than 6. So which of these is larger? You see that this one is larger. This is the hypotenuse. Okay, the hypotenuse is always along the side. I don't care. Like, I'm not looking at this angle yet. The hypotenuse is always along the side no matter what. Now that helps me because I have 2 more sides. One of them is opposite, the other one is adjacent. Look, question mark. What? I see the 4 is farther away than this side. That makes 4 the opposite. It's the opposite because 4 is farther away. It's not close. Then this side right here, this side is the adjacent. This side is close, this side is far, this is adjacent, this is opposite. So it looks like I have O and H. I know O, I know H, I can use that to help me find the angle. Now O and H, O and H. Which of those 3 has O and H? Sine. So katoa. Sine has opposite, sine has hypotenuse, so I'm going to use sine here. So sine, do I know what this is? I don't. Is equal to opposite of hypotenuse, 4 over 6. Now, I'm kind of stuck here because if I needed to find a missing side, I just plug in sine of whatever, but I don't know what this is, so I can't plug it in. So to find what this angle is, I need to do the opposite. I need to take this away. I need to remove it. I need to take this sine away so that what's left will be this. How do I do that? Well, if you look at your calculator, I see sine, cosine, tangent, and I see these as well. These mean the inverses. So, for example, if I do sine of, say, 90 degrees, sine 90 degrees is 1. Now, if I do sine or asin, whatever this is just the inverse of sine. That's the opposite of what's happening over here. If I plug in 1, what should I come up with? Well, if sine of 90 is 1, then in the opposite direction, the inverse sine of 1 should be 90. And it is, right? So, this is one way, 90 to 1, angle to side. This is the other way, side to angle, right? So these go in opposite directions. So if I want to find out what this is, I must use the inverse sign. So I'm going to write it like this. I'm going to, okay, so if I take the inverse sign of both sides, sorry, this would be kind of cramped. If I take the inverse sign of both sides, these cancel because these cancel each other, right? So I'm left with what I have now is a question mark is equal to sine -1. So this is the inverse sine of 4 over 6. So I take this away by doing the inverse sine of both sides. Remember, if I do inverse sine on this side, I do inverse sine to this side. So now this is something I can plug in. Inverse sine of 4 divided by 6. My answer would be about 40. That's about 41.81 degrees. this is an angle. Does it make sense? This is about 41 degrees. Does it make sense? Well, yeah, right? It could be anything between 0 and 90. If this was like 300, we know that would be wrong. But it appears to be this angle measure right here. So it's about 41.81 degrees. A tiny but horrible alien is in the top of the Eiffel Tower, and they're in city Paris. So what's spotted here? They're standing at 54 meters across, aiming at the alien. Okay, so the agent is 54 meters away. The alien is 324 meters up. What angle should it be? So you remember this looks like the same thing as last time. I know these sides. I don't know the angle, so you need to find out what the angle is. So you need to use an inverse sine, an inverse cosine, an inverse tangent. Remember the first step? What's the hypotenuse? Oops. What's the hypotenuse? It's always the... Sorry. What's the hypotenuse? It's always the longest side. What's the longest side? Right here. Okay. Now, if I look at this angle... If I look at this angle, what's opposite of this angle? What's farther away from it? Is 54 far away from it? No. Is 324 far away from it? Yes. So this would be opposite. Great. So over here, down here is the adjacent. That means down here is the adjacent side. Down there is the adjacent side. So adjacent, opposite, hypotenuse. Now I know O and I know A. Which one of the three, sine, cosine, tangent, has an O and an A? Oa. SOHCAHTOA. Tangent. I'm using tangent here. So tangent, do I know what this is? I don't. Is equal to, opposite is 324. Adjacent is 54. So tangent of some angle, I want to find what this is equal to 324 over 54. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. The question mark is equal. So I'm using the inverse tangent on both sides, so this goes away. Inverse tangent on both sides. Now what I have is the question mark is equal to the inverse tangent of what I have, 324 over 54. So the inverse tangent of 324 divided by 54, that gives me about 80.5 degrees. So that's about 80.5 degrees. So the agent needs to aim at an angle of about 80.5 degrees. Find sine of alpha. Find sine of the little of alpha. Find, okay. So I'm looking at this angle. First of all, the hypotenuse. What's the largest side? Easy enough. 29 is largest of the three. Okay, look at alpha. Well, what's sine? Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So I only want to find the opposite. Which one is farther away? 21 or 20? Which one is farther away from alpha? 20, right? 20 is far away from alpha, 21 is close. That's the adjacent, but I don't care about adjacent, right? Because so opposite hypotenuse. Okay, so it looks like it'd be 20 opposite over hypotenuse. That's 20 opposite over hypotenuse, 20 over 29. Opposite of hypotenuse, 20 over 29. Wanted to release a wooden ball, an iron ball from behind a 150 meters. Okay, so that's a number. And measure the duration of the fall. On a plane of an incline of 15 degrees, they climb until it's altitude of 150. How far should he walk up the inclined plane? Okay. So here's a question. What does inclined plane mean? Do we know what this is? If you don't, here's an easy way to find it out. What is inclined plane? An inclined plane is a plane inclined at an angle. Okay, what's inclined mean? So we just look at images. Look, an inclined plane is just it's like a wedge. It's a triangle, right? It's a triangle. So if you're confused by what inclined plane means, it's just a triangle. You see it right here. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, so what it's asking is how far should he walk up the inclined plane? So he's right here. He is going to climb up this triangle until he gets to 150 meters, and then he's going to drop a wooden and an iron ball. So the question is, how much does he need to walk? What's the length of this side? So, what is this? Which one of the three is it? It appears to be the longer side, right? Because this is long, but this is longer because it's at a diagonal. So this would be the hypotenuse. Also, my right angle is right here, so it's across from the right angle. This is the hypotenuse. What's this? Well, from the color, it's the opposite, right? I've used orange for opposite. Because it's across from 15 degrees, it's farther away from it. This is close to it. This is the adjacent. This is farther away from it. This is 15 degrees. So I know opposite. I want to find hypotenuse. SOHCAHTOA. I want to use sine. SOHCAHTOA. So sine of 15 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is 150. Hypotenuse is, let's just call it h to make it easy. All right, this is okay. So now you might say, well, Mr. Ryan, clearly I want to undo this division, so I'm going to multiply both sides. I'm going to multiply both sides by 150. And that would undo this division, and then we'd be set. To that I say you're kind of wrong. And the reason why that's incorrect is because this h is on the bottom, so I'm dividing h into 150. The h is the one that's doing the division, because it's 150 divided by h. H is doing the division here. So I want to undo this division to make this look better for us. I need to undo this h. So I'm multiplying both sides by h because h is the one that's doing the division. So now I've removed h. I have h times sine of 15 degrees is equal to 150. I undid this division. Now I want h by itself. So I need to remove this sign right here. So I'm going to divide both sides by sine of 15 degrees. Because that will undo this division right here, and I'll be left with h by itself. So I will have h by itself, because this goes away, is equal to 150 over sine of 15 degrees. That's what I have over here. So you see, I wanted h by itself, but it's being used in division, so I put it over here, then divide it by sine of 15, now it's by itself. Okay, so what's 150 divided by sine of 15. 150 divided, not multiplication, but division of sine of 15 degrees. That's about 579.56. So about 579.56. I'm rounding up here because this 5 right here rounds this number up. So this will go from a 5 to a 6. This 5 rounds number up. This will go from 5 to a 6. So it will be 579.56. 579.56 meters. And that's our answer. You can also see how they answered it. This goes over how they answered it. And we are done. So thank you, and I hope you learned something. Have a nice day. See you later.